In this video, we're going to look at two really important quantities. One is a scalar and one is a vector, and they are the divergence and curl of a vector field. And our goal here is to lift Green's theorem out of the plane and into space. And that means two things. One, Green's circulation form will be lifted to become Stokes' theorem, where we think about integrating a line integral over a curve that is the boundary of a surface that has been lifted into R3. So we saw in Green's that the line integral over a curve or a boundary of a surface was equal to the double integral of the curl or double integral of the flux, but we were strictly in R2, which means that our surfaces were on the xy plane. Stokes lifts that up so that our surfaces are in R3. And we will also look at the Green's flux form and how we can lift that up to R3, and that will be our divergence theorem. That will come in the next several videos, but we'll first focus on divergence and curl. And so what we saw from Green's theorem, the flux form of Green's theorem, we're going to look first at divergence. And the flux form of a Green theorem said the following. Assuming we have a closed simple curve and our region is simply connected. So let's say that our region R is simply connected, which means we don't have any holes in it. And our curve also is positive, has positive orientation. We talked about that in class. And our vector field F, let's suppose that this vector field has components P and Q. And again, everything is in two dimensions for Green's theorem. And our vector field has components that are differentiable. So Green's theorem of flux form said the following. The line integral over our curve of the vector field dot the normal is equal to the double integral over the enclosed region of the following quantity. dp dx, partial of p with respect to x, plus partial of q with respect to y, and we integrate that over the area of our region. And this, of course, this part measures flux or how much of our vector field passes through our curve and basically measures how much of it is aligned with the normal. And on the right side, the quantity that we're going to focus on right now, this piece, this del P over del X plus del Q over del Y means flux circulation. So in this, flux density, sorry about that, flux density, and in this context, this represents, for example, flux per unit area, but really we're letting that area become arbitrarily small, infinitesimally small. And then if we multiply that by the area element and add everything up, then we have the pointwise flux over the entire region. So this is one thing that I said in class. This is a microscopic measure, the divergence, and the flux around the boundary or our curve is a macroscopic measure of the vector field. Good. And so this quantity dp dx plus dq dy is what we call divergence in R2 of our vector field. We also label this div f. And of course, this is a vector field that is in R2 for now. And we define it also using our del operator. So using our del operator, divergence is actually the dot product of del with our vector field. So recall that our del operator is a vector that takes partial derivatives of components. So in R2, this would just be a vector that takes partial with respect to x, partial with respect to y. If our vector field is also in R2, then you can see that the dot product here of del and the vector field results in what we have defined to be our divergence. And so one thing to note, since this is a dot product, this is a scalar. So del acts on a vector field and the result is a scalar. If we lift this up to R3, really not a whole lot has to happen because let's suppose that our vector field f has now 3 components and each of those components is a differentiable function. So p, q, and let's say r. And so then our del in R3 is going to be the operator where we take partial of x, partial of y, and partial of z. And the divergence of our vector field in R3, so this is in R3. And this is going to be del dot our vector field f, which is partial of p with respect to x, plus partial of q with respect to y, plus the partial of r with respect to z. And so once again, this measures flux density. And it basically tells us how much our field expands and contracts a region. So if, just a couple of notes here, and then we'll look at a few examples. So a note here that if the divergence is 0, so if del dot f is equal to 0, then we say that the vector field is source free. Okay, let's take a look at an example, and I'm gonna look at the radial field first in R2 because I want to talk a little bit about it. It's easier for me to draw that one, and then we'll move it to R3. So our example here is just going to be a pretty easy example, but the purpose of it is to give you a sense of what divergence really means. So let's suppose that our vector field is the radial field xy, and we're back in R2 here. And we've seen this vector field before, right? Everything kind of radiates out of the origin because at every point, the vector that we draw is the position vector that gets us to that point. So it looks something like this, gets longer as we get further out. So we might look something like that. And this is our radial field in R2. In R3, it looks very similar. It's just very difficult for me to draw that. So there's our radial field. And the vectors get longer as we get further out. And so as you can see, right, this seems to be radiating outward. So we say that this vector field is a source field. And imagine that we have a little region here. Maybe this is the ocean and the flow of the ocean, so the velocity field of ocean waves of the water. And we have a little maybe oil spill over here. There's a little bit of an oil spill. And as our vector field goes through, it radiates outward, what happens to that little oil slick is that the further we get out, this is going to expand, right? The vector field will make that region expand. And so when we have a vector field that's source, that's kind of radiating outward, has a lot of flux, it's said to be expanding. And if we turned all of our vectors in the opposite direction so that they're all pointing to the origin by making the field, for example, negative x, negative y, everything now will turn in the opposite direction, then that's going to be a sink and the oil fields will expand inward. And so we say that that's compressed. We compress or we expand. So let's calculate the divergence for this field, we should expect the divergence for this field to be positive. So positive divergence means that we are expanding outwardly. Negative divergence means that we're contracting inwardly. And yeah, let's go ahead and calculate it. So div f, again, as I mentioned earlier, is the dot product of the del operator and our vector field. And so this is going to be partial with respect to x, partial with respect to y. There's del acting on our radial field, xy. And so that's going to give us the partial of x with respect to x plus the partial of y with respect to y, which is 1 plus 1, which gives us a 2. And so for sure, this is a positive value, and we have an expanding vector field. Okay, let's turn to another example, and I'm going to do this one in R3, and that will end this video. We'll talk about curl in a separate video. But in R3, let's suppose we want to find the divergence of the rotational field that looks as follows. This field is a rotation field, and we have a negative y, x minus z, and y. So rotational field. And let's take a look at the divergence. So del dot f, here, del will have three components, partial with respect to x, partial with respect to y, partial with respect to z. And we're going to do that dot product with our vector field. And here we will get, well, the partial of negative y with respect to x is 0. The partial of x minus z with respect to y is 0. And the partial of y with respect to z is 0. So this divergence is 0. And so we say this field is source free. And well, that kind of makes sense, right? What's happening here is that we have a field that rotates. So we might have something that looks like this. They're not curved vectors. I just drew that poorly. And in 3D, of course, we're assuming this is in 3D. We have something like that. I'm not being very specific here, but a rotational field like this means that nothing's going out and flowing into the vector field, right? If we put an oil slick somewhere here, it's not going to expand or contract. It's just going to kind of flow with around the axis of rotation. So this vector field has no flux, and it is source free. It is possible for a vector field to have both flux and some kind of rotation. This one does not. It just wouldn't be a rotational field necessarily. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about curl, kind of the mechanics of curl, and try to explain some of the subtleties of curl in R3.